Hello everyone, it's Mr. E here, and today we are fixing up the talent tree yet again. This time it is, what I said in the last video, it is Feel No Pain that is going to be entering into a little bit of pain, as I'm going to be tearing it down and explaining why it's a really bad keystone and what we can do to fix it to make it more useful and to make it more fun, like a lot more fun than it currently is. Before I get started, I just want to say that if you didn't see my previous video, it was tackling burst limiter override, everything that's wrong with it, and how we could change it to make it more relevant in the current state of the game and more fun to play around for all weapons, not just Twin Link Stubbers. So if you didn't watch that video, I would highly recommend you go do that. And I would also highly recommend that you like this video and subscribe to my channel, because that makes you an awesome person. And leave a comment. Definitely I recommend leave a comment down in the comments where you leave comments on this video, and let me know what you want to be tweaked next, what you want me to turn my ire towards and mentally will it to change. The next video is already chosen. It's on martyrdom, because I saw like 80 people thumbs upping on various martyrdom comments in the last one. I think a lot of people want martyrdom to be improved, and they have ideas of how. So that'll be the next video, but the one after that will be up to audience selection. So let me know down in the comments. Maybe I haven't thought of something that you have, and it's always really like gotten your hair up just thinking about how bad this one talent is. And really anything is up for grabs, to any talent, any ability, whatever it is. So don't feel like you're restrained by it only being keystones or something. Okay, so let's start getting into the weeds with this thing, this feel no pain thing. First and foremost, this node lies to you. I'm just going to simplify what it says here. It gives you 10 stacks of this buff that gives you 2.5% toughness replenishment and 2.5% damage reduction. Toughness replenishment in both this node and this node here, what it actually means is toughness coherency regeneration. So you will not get any benefit out of this if you're on your own. So you won't see any difference, in the amount of toughness I get back from like meleeing this enemy to death, whether or not I have these nodes allotted, because that is not what toughness replenishment means in this sense. Normally, in every other skill tree in the game, toughness replenishment means the amount that you get back when you get kills, right? But for whatever reason, when they were writing the ogryn tree, they meant it as coherency regen. So go figure there. So you're not getting more out of getting kills while you have Feel No Pain active, or out of your other abilities. So it's just coherency regen. And I'm just gonna say it up front here, so I don't have to keep repeating it. Toughness coherency regen is really bad in this game for a number of reasons, but ogryn falls victim to all of them. First off, you cannot regenerate toughness in coherency with your allies if you've been hit by a ranged attack in the last couple seconds. Ogryn is the easiest, obviously, to be hit by a ranged attack. You cannot regenerate toughness if there's an enemy in one of your slots, and the radius for slots for where enemies like position like a kung fu movie and try to get around you for normal size classes is about this big. For ogryn, it's 1.5 times that size. So enemies can be almost nowhere near you, but because they're jockeying for a position to come and attack you within your radius, they're going to be blocking your toughness coherency regen. And you are a melee character, so you're in melee with enemies all the time, and that blocks you from regenerating any coherency toughness. The other reasons why coherency toughness or regen is bad is because you have to have allies around to do it, and a lot of times the most difficult situations in this game where you need toughness the most, you are either isolated from your team or your team is dead. And in a clutch situation and you have dead allies, you do not have them around to regenerate your toughness with. So it's just an absolute nothing skill. It doesn't give you any regeneration at all. And then furthermore, and finally, the best curios for all classes right now increase your toughness. We want to be stacking toughness in all classes. This makes our toughness pool, as you can see here, 173. It's a lot. The more toughness you have, the harder it is for coherency regen to refill it, because coherency regen is a flat number, not a percentage like other regen is. So, if you had 500 toughness, you would take forever to regenerate it through coherency. And so it's just a waste of nodes, especially when the ogryn has access to toughness regen from Smash 'em, Best Defense, and Unstoppable. That is just amazing. I mean, check this out. I'm gonna let these guys beat me until I have 0 toughness. So first I gotta build up my my heavy attack stacks. Let's just make a billion of them. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm at 0 toughness. And now I'm at full, right? So that is the power of that of those nodes for regenerating toughness, and you can do that when you're in melee with enemies. And if you are a player, before I say anything else about this node, if you're a player who's using this node, you probably think it's making you safer because it has toughness, it has damage reduction right there in the name up front. You get way more toughness reduction from the bleeding enemies things over here, or damage reduction from the bleeding enemies things over here, and you can regenerate way more toughness through building like this than you can from building anything in this tree at all, because being aggressive with ogryns and beating down enemies is how we keep our toughness high and how we keep them from hurting us more. So if you are in that situation and you think this is good, I need you to reconsider, and hopefully what I have to say here gets through to you. Okay, so with that being said, now that we've said what this actually is supposedly giving us, let's show what it actually gives us. So it does give us an additional 25% toughness coherency regen, or whatever. But it also says it gives us 25% damage reduction. That's a lie. that is a straight lie. And here's how I can show that to you. If I let this guy wail on me, right now I have feel no pain, right? So when this enemy hits me and I have full HP, watch what my HP goes to. Okay, it went to 352 with that one hit there. Now we're going to take this off, and I had 10 stacks. You saw it in my bar there. Now we're going to take this off. I should have 25% less damage reduction, which means this attack right here, well, once he breaks my toughness, let's let him break my toughness. Get out of here. Oh, God. Okay, so this attack right here should do 25% more damage, and it took me to do exactly 352 again. So this this node automatically is already bad because it's lying to us and telling us that it gives us 25% damage reduction, when in fact it gives us toughness damage reduction, which is a huge difference because ogryn has a 300 health pool, and 25% more on that is a lot. But we don't get more health out of this node. We only get toughness damage reduction out of it, which is way worse. And let's just go ahead and make the first of many unfavorable comparisons that this node gets to this node in the zealot tree called Stalwart. Stalwart is a modifier to a keystone notably that already gives you 15% critical chance pretty much all the time, as long as enemies are dying anywhere near you. Stalwart gives you 50% toughness of your maximum toughness whenever it activates, and then you have 25% toughness damage reduction that whole as long as Fury is active. So this is permanent, basically. Compare that to what we've got here, which is we have 25% toughness damage reduction, but it's not permanent. In fact, you can lose the effect of this if you get hit. So if you're in a bad situation and you've been getting walloped on and you've lost all your toughness, well, now you have no benefit from this in the first place because it's not damage reduction, it's toughness damage reduction. But when you do get your toughness back, say by meleeing enemies in or whatever, if you don't have any stacks of this left, or you have 1 or 2 stacks left, you have a keystone that's losing value because you're taking damage. And this is supposed to be the keystone that's for tanks who are going to take damage, right? That's what you'd think. But I can't think of any other design in any other game where the more damage you take, the damage reduction you have decreases. That is a terrible design. If anything, it should be the inverse. Getting beat up makes you take less and less damage, and you get more and more tanky. But this is just so bizarre to me. So it's really bad, because if you are in a pinch situation and you're getting beat up, this is not going to save you. In fact, if you're getting beat up, it's probably doing nothing. The only thing it could do is when it reaches 0 stacks with Pained Outburst, let's talk to it about its first keystone modifier here. If it reaches 0 stacks, it pushes enemies around you back and replenishes 20% toughness. This is garbage. 20% toughness is like next to nothing. And when we reach 0 stacks, do you know how many times we've gotten hit to reach 0 stacks? Like, watch this. Look at my stacks. 2, 3, 4. Look at my health, by the way. 5, 6. This is on Damnation. 7, 8. Okay, so I died before I reached 0 stacks. So the problem with this ability, one of the many problems with this ability, is this game is built around not taking damage. You should be avoiding or blocking damage from enemies. You should not be taking instances of damage, excepting the very rare cases. So we want to have damage reduction in our build, sure, but we want to have that damage reduction be consistent, and we want it to block the occasional instance in which enemies will sneak a hit past us and damage us. If you're taking that many hits that your feel no pain reaches 0, you are all sorts of fucked up. And the 20% toughness that it gives you back is piddly compared to how fucked up you now are. You're pretty much near dead, or you're on the ground dying. And this can only occur once every 30 seconds. So this is not even comparable to Master's Retribution, which I also still think is bad, which has an edge use case of being able to get a dog off of you every 10 seconds. This takes 30 seconds. So if you're getting the shit kicked out of you and you knock enemies back, and then 2 seconds later or 5 seconds later a dog pounces on you, you're sitting on the ground with a dog on you for 25 seconds. And that's enough time for the game to end. You know, or that's enough time for a flamer to come up and be like, hey, I'm helping, burn you to death, you know, that sort of stuff. So this is just an abysmal reward for getting the absolute dog shit beat out of you, and then it can't even get a dog off of you with any regularity, or, you know, it doesn't really like, it doesn't save you from anything. You're getting destroyed out there if this is triggering at all. The only way to keep your stacks up with any regularity is by using Strongest. So this is a pretty much mandatory pick if you're using this node. So it's a talent tax, more or less, because you're gonna get hit and you're gonna lose stacks over time. So you'll have less than 25% damage reduction, which you were promised. It will regenerate on its own, but not fast enough a lot of times. So this is one way we can get it back, is it restores stacks of Feel No Pain. Now let's let these guys hit us and get our stacks down. But then, oh, I didn't take the node. Hold on, let's be invincible real quick while they beat ourselves to death. Okay, there we go. So they're beating us, beating us. All right. And you can see here that if I stack all these enemies up, the problem, oh, let's get beat. The problem is that it's 1 stack per push. I can't even get all of my stacks back at once by having there be that many enemies in front of me and shoving it. So this is just a way to keep your stacks full, but if this was a good talent, it would just give you the 25% damage reduction. You wouldn't have to take this extra node to keep it topped off so that you can actually keep the full value of the keystone that you ignored a better keystone and came all the way down this way to get in for nothing. So this is just like salvaging or trying to salvage this keystone and make it a little bit more usable, but it really doesn't. And then finally, toughest. Woohoo! 25% toughness replenishment per stat, or sorry, 25% toughness replenishment overall if you have all 10 stacks. That is the same as Stay Close, which is probably the worst aura in the entire game, but Stay Close gives that benefit to your entire team. So this has 1/4 of the effect because it only applies to you, and this is already the worst aura in the whole game. So that should tell you how good Toughest really is, because that's just 25% more on coherency toughness regen, which we already have 50% from up here, 25% from here. The fact that there's so much in the tree already devalues this, and then it's just a bad stat. So this node is all sorts of messed up. And to wrap it up and sort of put a bow on why this keystone is so bad, it is because, one, it's right in the middle of the tree. It's underneath the worst aura. So if you're coming to down this way to get this stuff, you are ignoring 2 better auras and two better trees, one way better tree in heavy hitter over here, the optimal choice, in order to get this tree, which, you know, these nodes are good. Like these ones right here are actually really good. You see them on my actual good build. These nodes are actually good, but you're taking this node that gives you, at best, a little bit of coherency regen that you don't need and probably won't get much effect of outside of like downtime where there's no enemies around. And at best, it gives you 25% toughness damage reduction, which is like half of a node that Veteran gets as just a regular blue node in the tree. And then at worst, it gives you actually literally nothing because you are getting beat up and the game says, oh, you've been taking a lot of damage recently? Well, guess what? You're going to take even more damage now because you lost all your stacks, dum-dum. You should have taken an extra tax talent of Strongest to push enemies and keep your stacks high so your keystone would actually be worth anything. If you were taking this right now, I'm going to stress one more time, do not take this anymore. Take this until this is fixed. Take this and take Unstoppable, and you will regenerate so much toughness. You will be unkillable with this. This pretends to make you unkillable, and it does nothing. All right, so that is my rant on it. We do not want to be taking damage. So let's think. What is the ogryn designed? What is his design? Like fantasy, right? He is a tank. He is a big boy. He pushes enemies around. He controls the battlefield. He has this whole gunner thing over here, but we'll leave the gunner. We'll sort of like pretend that's not there. We're focusing mainly on these two sides because I think that is more in synergy with what Feel No Pain is supposed to be, which is that, oh, he's a tank class. He's gonna take damage. Let's block him taking damage. However, the problem with taking damage in this game, and you just saw it a second ago, is that, okay, this is on Damnation, the highest difficulty. I'm an ogryn. I'm a fucking tank. Let's watch this singular enemy do his thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I'm dead. Okay, so even the strongest, toughest class in the game can take 6 hits from one of the smallest enemies in the game and he goes down. So designing talents, especially keystones, around taking hits is a really, really bad idea because optimally we do not want to be taking hits. And if we do take hits, we want to get some sort of reward out of it. So when I created my new talent, because I'm about to show you the revised version, I did leave in that element of taking hits, but I gave you a benefit for taking hits rather than losing the value out of by taking hits. You're getting a benefit from taking these hits, and it's going to provide something tactically. So you can take the hits over time, or you can get benefits from blocking enemies. And this is all going to work into something that the ogryn excels at, and that I want to lean into more with this tree, because this tree is all about range damage, right? Being a gunner and all that stuff. This tree is about being a melee warrior who gets in there and just kills all the enemies to death. And this tree, if we're think about this. This is the ability that's for melee warriors that get in there and kill all the enemies with beating them to death. This is the ability for gunners, and here's the tree for gunners. And this is the ability for crowd control and tanks. So instead of having it be a tank node, let's have it be a crowd control node. And so ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to the revised version of this. It's called You Making Me Mad. And being hit by enemies gives you 2 stacks of aggravation. Blocking attacks gives 1 stack, and this can occur every second, 1 time, so that you can't just instantly stack it up on machine gunners hitting you. Once you reach 50 stacks, if you use your weapon special, it causes you to roar. There's like a seismic shockwave around you, like the veteran shout, and we can be basically the exact same thing, just scale it for the size of the ogryn, and it makes all the enemies fall down, just like the veteran shout. A really, really good ability, and it helps control the battlefield. And the best part is so many of the ogryn's weapons have they have kind of weapon specials that aren't super useful, but that would give them something extra to do, because a lot of them are just filler. What's this? The slap? Woohoo! If that did a big roar instead, or especially my personal favorite weapon, when you slam down the shield, boom, and everything around you, shockwave goes out and all the enemies fall down, that would be rad. So that is the idea, and it would stack up. So this would work really well with taunt builds, obviously, because you could get the enemies to attack you and then just stand there blocking them and get some stacks. It would also just encourage you every now and then, hey, you know, if you got hit, you're adding up towards this. And this is going to provide a nice amount of CC. Imagine you have this situation where you need to save an ally and you taunted and brought all the enemies, you know, towards you, and now you can shockwave them and knock them all to the ground. It's not up very often by design because it's going to have some other very powerful effects. So let's talk about another powerful effect is aggravated assault. So this is now when you activate that roar, once you reach 50 stacks, it gives you and all allies in coherency 20% attack speed for 5 seconds. Now the numbers could be tweaked on this a little bit, but I think this is plenty. You know, it's a nice attack speed steroid, and it's all these enemies are on the ground. We want to capitalize on that amount of time that they're on the ground. It's going to stagger bosses and stuff. 20% attack speed over 5 seconds for all allies is a lot. Maybe the time could be a little bit longer, but I didn't want to make it crazy. I also didn't want to make it movement speed because we already have a movement speed node for the ogryn, which is right here with get stuck in. So I didn't want to like have this also be you know, a charge ability when we've already got the charge for it. So that's a steroid that you can give to your team once you have it stacked up, so you can use it offensively. Once you've put these enemies on their back foot, we are now supercharging our allies with offensive capability. Now, the problem with this is it's going to take a really long time to stack this up, and you have to get hit or block, which means that you're playing sloppy or you're playing a taunt ogryn and you're just like getting enemies to wail on you so you get this charged up. But that is where you would take, that's my secret, sir. I'm always angry, right? You gain 1 stack of aggravation per second. So at minimum, you would gain 1 activation of this per 50 seconds, which I think is a really good number. With blocking and stuff, you'd probably have it ready every 30 seconds or so, but it'll be ready between encounters, and you'll have this in your pocket of like, okay, if things get really hairy and I need to break up the fight and you know, reset everything around me, I can press my weapon special and everything around me will take a little dirt nap for, you know, a couple seconds and clear some space. So that's the way that you can generate this without getting hit. And that means that this tree is becoming more valuable for all 3 classes, because if you're a gunner and maybe you don't need that extra ammo, the extra free shots, but you might need something to get enemies away from you every now and then so you can get some space and keep shooting. And so, you know, if you're shooting with you know, your twin link stubber and enemies are crowding you, weapon special, they all get knocked back, and then you can make some distance and start shooting again. If you're a charge ogryn and you charge into combat and you're hitting enemies and then a bunch of crushers come around on you, weapon special, they're all on the ground and you keep, you know, wailing on them. And it would be really cool to charge into a group of enemies and then just blast them out with this ability from the center, or taunt a ton of enemies, get them all grouped up on you, and then weapon special and shove them all off a ledge, or, you know, just continue to fuck with them and keep the battlefield completely controlled. And then finally, I thought this was just something that I don't see enough of in the game, which is there is one ability in the game, the Until Death, which the Zealot has, which makes you invulnerable for 5 whole seconds when you take lethal damage. Imagine what an ogryn could get done if he has this ability that he's stacked up. It knocks these enemies around, and then he can also activate it just to make himself invulnerable for a period of time and wade through any amount of fire to be like that person who, like, okay, we need to get a forward position in this room. The gunners have got us pinned down. There's a ton of fire. He needs to make a play now and turn this encounter on its head. You activate this and you are invulnerable for 4 seconds, which I don't think is an overly long amount of time, but it's enough time to wade through a bunch of enemy fire or literal fire and get onto that enemy line and start pushing them around and getting them taunted and getting them disrupted and whatever you need. It can also be popped, you know, you're backed into a corner, you got a boss that's been beating you up. You can activate this and for the next 4 seconds, you can regenerate your stamina and actually breathe and get your positioning changed. I think activatable abilities like this, if you ever played like World of Warcraft or any other MMO, there's almost always an ability that like can protect an ally for a short amount of time so they can do something really stupid. Like, you know, Hand of Protection is a great example in World of Warcraft where like, yeah, the boss will keep hitting them and they're invulnerable to physical damage for like 3 seconds. It's not very much, but it can make all the difference in the right time. So this is my idea for revamping this tree. Instead of having it be a tree about I want to get the shit beat out of me and lose the effectiveness of my talent by getting the shit beat out of me, and it barely gives you any defenses at all, let's make it a tree about crowd control. Because, you know, the archetype of tank is like there's lots of different types of tanks, right? As a great example of a tank that does not like to take damage but instead excels in disruption of the battlefield is Wrecking Ball, right? Our lovely little hamster Overwatch dude. This guy, he's not particularly like super tanky, but he's a disruptor in the battlefield. He pushes enemies around, and he has enough health to make that happen. And he can take hits, but he's not all about just like blocking damage, because blocking damage is boring. Think about how exciting it is to play as Wrecking Ball versus how exciting it is to play as Reinhardt or something like that, where you're just standing up there with your shield up. Let's not be a Reinhardt and just be an ogryn that's standing there with our shield up. Let's be an ogryn that gets in there and shoves the enemies around, commands control of the battlefield, you know, is leading from the front lines and say like, all right, let's speed up the attack and making the big plays. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode of fixing. I almost said Minecraft for some reason. Fixing Darktide, and I hope this was illuminating. I hope you like my idea. This one was a little bit harder to think of than the tweaks, but I also went a little bit more crazy in terms of what these abilities will do, but they're all mechanics that are already within the game, so it's very, very doable from a dev point of view. Anyway, do remember to leave me that comment down below and tell me what you'd like me to tackle after I martyrdom, and I really appreciate you all for watching and all that good stuff. And all right, yeah, that's it. Mystery out. If I could end the fucking video. Man, this has been a weird casual video, huh? All right, see you guys.